Welcome back. In this video, we're going to continue our larger study of end-time deception, worship, and allegiance by looking at one of the most sobering images in Revelation, the image of the beast. The previous topic, we discussed the image of God, and if you haven't watched that, I'll put a link up to it now. This topic connects directly to several things we've already studied: the man of lawlessness in 2 Thessalonians 2, the strong delusion, the lie, the abomination of desolation, the larger crisis of worship, and the allegiance in the final days. The overall argument that I'm going to make in this video is that the image of the beast is not a minor detail of Revelation. It is the point where the beast system turns worship into public, enforceable allegiance. The image is made, it is empowered, it is caused to speak, and it is used as the test object for loyalty to the beast. And those who refuse to worship it are threatened with death and then killed. Even more, the image of the beast is a counterfeit of the image of God. Scripture begins with God creating living images, human beings, to represent him in the world. And Revelation shows a rival power manufacturing an image to deform humanity through coerced worship. So the image of the beast is not just an object, it's an idolatrous apparatus. It is the worship enforcement mechanism. It is a counterfeit imaging project, and it has one of the clearest signs that the final crisis is about worship, allegiance, and truth. The main passage for our study is Revelation 13. There, John sees the second beast. This second beast acts on behalf of the first beast. It performs signs, deceives the earth dwellers, and tells them to make an image of the beast. The Greek word for image is icon. If that word sounds familiar, it's because that's where we get our English word icon. But in Greek, the word can mean image, likeness, representation, or idol. In Revelation 13, the image is not introduced as a harmless decoration. It's not merely religious art, and it's not just propaganda in a vague sense. It is made for the beast. It is empowered, and it speaks. It becomes the instrument by which worship is enforced. Revelation says that the second beast is allowed to give breath and image of the beast. So the image of the beast might speak, and might cause those who would not worship the beast to be killed. This tells us that the image functions as the public enforcement point of beast worship. It makes allegiance visible. It separates those who comply from those who refuse, and it turns worship into a measurable act. The image of the beast appears in Revelation 13, but the theme continues afterward. Revelation repeatedly speaks of worshiping the image and the beast. Revelation 14 warns against worshiping the beast and its image. Revelation 16 shows judgment falling on those who bear the mark of the beast and worship the image. Revelation 19 says the false prophet deceived those who received the mark and worshipped the image. And Revelation 20 describes martyrs who had not worshipped the beast or its image. So this is not a passing detail. The image becomes one of the defining marks of beast allegiance. The faithful are defined by refusal. They do not worship the beast. They do not worship the image. They do not receive the mark. They may be killed for that refusal, but Revelation presents their refusal as victory and not defeat. The clearest Old Testament background is Daniel 3. In Daniel 3, Nebuchadnezzar sets up a great image and commands public officials to bow down and worship it. The act is public, and it is coordinated, and it is enforced. Refusal brings threat of death in the fiery furnace. And that pattern matters for Revelation because Daniel 3 gives us the template. The image is set up, worship is commanded, public compliance is expected, refusal is treated as rebellion, faithfulness to God is punished by the state. Revelation takes that pattern and escalates it. What Nebuchadnezzar does regionally, the beast system does on a larger scale. What Daniel's friends faced in Babylon becomes a prophetic pattern for the final worship crisis. The point is not just that both passages mention the image, but the deeper point here is that both passages connect image, worship, public allegiance, and death threat. That's why Daniel 3 is so important for understanding Revelation 13. Daniel also gives us the larger background of abomination and sacred space profanation. Daniel speaks of the regular offering being removed and an abomination being set up. Jesus points back to Daniel in Matthew 24, when he speaks of the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place. Paul speaks of the man of lawlessness taking his seat in the temple of God and proclaiming himself to be God. Revelation does not use exactly the same language in every place, but the themes overlap strongly. There is deception, self-exaltation, false worship, profanation, and there is public allegiance to a counterfeit power. So the image of the beast belongs to the same world of ideas as Daniel's abomination and Paul's man of lawlessness. It's not merely a political symbol. It is a cultic and worship-centered provocation, and it is part of the final counterfeit. The image of God and the image of the beast. This is where the theology becomes extremely important. In Genesis, God creates humanity in his image. Human beings are made to be God's living representations in the world. We are made to reflect his rule, serve his purpose, and steward creation under his authority. The image of God means humanity is created for worship, dominion, service, and representation. But Revelation shows a rival image created. God creates living images. The beast system manufactures an image. God's image is living humanity, called to faithful worship. But the beast's image is an idolatrous representation, and it uses coerciveness to worship. God's image dignifies humanity, but the beast's image deforms humanity. God's image calls human beings to represent him, and the beast's image pressures human beings to become like the beast. And that contrast is central in Revelation. The image of the beast is not merely a fake religious object, it is a counterfeit of the human vocation itself. It attempts to reform human allegiance away from God and toward the beast. And like I said earlier, we become what we worship. The Bible repeatedly teaches that worship forms the worshiper. Psalms 115 says that idols have mouths but do not speak, they have eyes but do not see, ears but do not hear, and that those who make them become like them. That principle is crucial. Worship is not neutral. When human beings worship the living God, they are restored toward their true vocation. When human beings worship idols, they are deformed. They become like what they worship. In this way, the image of the beast is not just an external test. It is a tool of spiritual deformation. Those who worship it are not just performing a ritual. They are participating in a counterfeit humanity, and they are aligning themselves with the beast's values, the dragon's rebellion, and the lie. The beast system wants people to bear its mark, worship its image, and participate in the order. That is the opposite of bearing God's name, following the Lamb, and worshiping the Creator. A major question is whether the image of the beast is a literal statue, a symbolic representation, a technological mechanism, some sort of AI system, or something else. Revelation gives us some stable points, and that's what we should focus on, but it doesn't answer every modern question. We know the image is made. It's for the beast. The image is empowered and it speaks. The image becomes the focus of worship enforcement, and those who refuse to worship it are killed. That means the image has public and functional reality. It may be a cultic statue. It may be a future mechanism that functions like a cultic image in ways we can't yet fully define. It may involve technologies or systems that make worship repeatable, visible, and enforceable across distance. But the central point is not the material composition of the image. I will speculate about that in a different video, but not here. The central point is its function. The image represents the beast. It mediates worship. It makes allegiance public. It becomes the enforcement point of the beast's religious political order. So we should be careful not to reduce the image to only one modern speculation. Revelation's concern is theological. The image is the focal instrument